for the first exercise I want you guys to walk through is rib cage expansion. If we can get your rib cage to expand, we can tie your diaphragm into your transverse abdominis, which we talked about in the previous video. What that does is it's actually the way of getting our body to stand neutral. Okay, so if we can figure out rib cage expansion to get these muscles to eccentrically potentiate, which basically means when the rib cage expands, it activates the muscles on the side of our ribs and on our back so that there is potential to actually be able to move the way that we want. And a lot of times, our superficial core muscles get overactive. When that gets overactive, that pulls us into these sort of postural distortions that we're fighting. Okay? And so when we're here, our rib cage doesn't move anymore. So what we need to do is expand that rib cage so that this can reciprocate the way that we want, and that's going to play into a couple of different puzzles that we're going to do. So what I'm going to have you do is grab this purple band, or any band works for the most part, and you're going to loop it around your back, and you're going to create a slip knot. Okay, so this is going to go right underneath your chest. Yep, pull it tight, and then around the back, and tuck it in. Now, some bands are a little bit heavier than this one. This one's a little bit stretchier, so if you're using a heavier band for this, just pull it tight enough that it's compressing the ribs. What this is for is the feedback mechanism so that when you actually inhale, you're trying to expand your rib cage into the band. Okay? So what she's going to do here, her first cue is going to be to pull her stomach in. So she's trying to pull her belly button to her spine, retract her navel, whatever makes sense to you, basically trying to pull that in at the same time as breathing in and expanding her lungs as big as she can. Okay? And so what we're trying to feel here, she's going to reach her arms forward just a little bit and retract the shoulders just gently, so you don't have to actually pinch the shoulders together, but it's just a soft retraction. So her stomach is in, rib cage is expanded as big as you can get it. From here, she's going to inhale to 100% capacity of her lungs. Once she has that inhalation, she's going to exhale down to 90% and then back up to 100%, trying to inhale just a little bit more air. What I'm going to try and remind her to do is keep the stomach in. And if you turn sideways for me, okay, so we're going to try and keep her sideways. What you're going to notice is if you relax, so relax, exhale all the air out, you're going to see how the posture shifts around. Now, once you pull your stomach in, inhale, you'll see how a lot of these pieces start to line up just by getting her rib cage to sit where we want it to sit. Okay, so as you're doing this, you should feel some eccentric tension on the back, basically between the shoulder blades. The more you breathe in, you're going to feel this lower and lower. Okay? So stomach is going to pull in. Keep remembering to do that because it's going to relax. It's super difficult. You'll feel a deep core tension as you're going through that. All right? So the goal here is to do maybe 10 to 15 breaths. I would suggest doing this several times a day until you get used to what this is doing. Really focusing on expanding the ribs in different areas. So for some people, it's difficult to expand in the front. So think about breathing into the upper chest. Think about breathing in just below your chest here to get that to expand. Now, if you're having trouble because this is overactive, it's a really good idea to grab a lacrosse ball and release some of the upper ab muscles here to get this to release and expand a little bit better. Okay? So keep breathing in a couple more times, retracting these shoulders, keeping the stomach in. The next step that I'm going to have her do is I want you to keep your feet hip width apart. I want you to shift your hips like 1 or 2 inches back. So it's just a hinge of the hips. Good. Stomach in, rib cage expanded. Okay, so what we're trying to do with some of our postures, as I described in the previous video, is we're trying to just get that standing neutral posture where her ankles, knees, hips, the middle of her rib cage, and her ears are in line. Okay, so a lot of people think that it's the shoulders. We want to get the rib cage in line, and getting this to expand is what's going to get this to line up the way that we want. Okay, feeling core tension? Mm-hmm. Okay, you feeling it behind your shoulders?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and relax. Go ahead and take the band off. Okay. This is a very important cue to work on. So what I want you to work on now is I want you to do the same thing without the band. Okay? Because what we're trying to do is use the band to build that strength, but not so that we can use this these muscles dynamically. This is a strength that once you get these muscles to activate, you should be able to move with your rib cage expanded and the TVA with a soft engagement all day long. Okay? So getting this to engage and getting that to compress properly, you'll see how that starts to align things. You'll feel it decompress your lumbar spine. There's a lot of things that are going to happen just by getting your rib cage to sit in the correct position, which will allow us to do some of the other exercises that we're going to do later in the program. So if you can't figure out how to get your rib cage to expand, you need to spend as much time as you need to get this stuff to happen so that when you do the other exercises, they add on to the levels that we're trying to build here. Okay? So keep working on that stomach in, keep expanding the ribs, feeling that tension deep in your core, working to feel it between the shoulder blades. Once you start to feel that, make sure you're looking in the mirror to see what your ribs are actually doing. It's really helpful to do this like with a shirt off so you can see what your ribs are actually doing. And make sure that the thing that you're telling your body to do is actually happening. So you should see the rib cage expand with the stomach in. The more you can pull that in while expanding the ribs, the better off you're going to be here. Okay, go ahead and relax. All right.